Hey guys, today I've got a game between Ninob and the Terran player HChAnNeLiTe. We're going to be watching Ninob to see what we can find that can be improved here. So this is a gold level game, and as usual, my audio is too loud. Not going to be too much to show early, so I'd like to mention if you guys haven't been on the channel, on the stream, be sure to check it out at Twitch TV /Rekatan. It's been going really well lately. Ninob opening with the manor. That's always a good open. We'll see what we see here. I didn't get any info on this from Ninob. He's been watching my stream a lot, and he's been talking a lot about Swarmhost. I don't know if this is one where he actually implements it or not. So we'll see what we see. It's always fun going into a replay blind. We'll just hope it's a good one. Makes it more authentic though, right? So thus far, we've got actually our Terran player going up to 11 supply here. Just barely dodges that supply block. And at Zerg's side, we have nothing to talk about so far. I love the start of a game. There's nothing at all to talk about. So let's see, what should I talk about? Oh, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate coming out in 2 months. I'm so excited. I'm hoping to stream it. We'll see. But I'm throwing a huge party actually at my place, getting as many people together as possible for a lot of drinking and Monster Hunter. So we're probably going to make a drinking game or something. We'll see. Every time you die, you take a shot. That could be fun. Alright, so we got a 15 hatch going down for Ninob. And thus far, we've got a really greedy build from HChANNeLiTe. He's rocking the low ground barracks supply depot wall that's going to take about 4 more buildings to complete. So he's fortunate Ninob's going for a 15 hatch. So that's good. Now we got, let's see, what's our pool timing? Yeah, we got a 16 pool. Pretty solid build. I like this. This is actually very similar to what I run. I've switched over to a 14 hatch 15 pool just because the Reapers have been just terrifying lately ever since they added that 10 extra hit points. It's just kind of been enough that my queens don't feel impactful. So a little earlier hatchery, little earlier pool. Allows me to get those spines up if necessary. Also, I find it's easier to get my roaches out a little quicker and get the pressure to shut down. Really late drone scout from Ninob. Actually, this is the first thing that I can kind of mention here for improvement. Now, if this were a standard Terran build where the wall was up top, you wouldn't be getting any information right now, Ninob. So it's the first place to go with this. Try and time your drone scout to make sure that you're going to get in at the absolute latest before that supply depot up top goes down. I would say if you want to be real careful and make sure you're spotting a 2 racks, proxy racks in time, you could go with a 9 scout. You can go as late as a 13 scout if you want to cut it close and just barely eke in with that supply depot going down. But I would say if you want to just kind of have a good middle ground, right as that Overlord pops in, you go up to 11 supply. That's a good time to go ahead and send out that drone. Cool little extractor trick here. This is a nice throwback to 2010 when this was the standard. Everyone was doing it. This is great by Ninob for taxing that multitasking and practicing. Running 383 average APM. I'm not sure if that's lying or if Ninob's running some kind of auto-click or something. Maybe he really just can spam that hard. You'll have to let me know after the game, man. Gold level 370 APM. I love it. That is awesome. So we've got no gas yet. Just dropping those 2 extractors. This is great, especially since he saw no Reapers. He saw that greedy expand. He's going to be able to delay that gas for as long as possible. Now, the one thing that... Okay, that is some hardcore spamming, dude. Very nice. So the one thing that I really want to point out here is if you're going to delay your gas, make sure you capitalize on it. Now, your injections, they've been spot on, but the spending hasn't quite been where it needed to be. And the best way you can make this work for you is go ahead and get those extra queens out a little earlier. And actually, this is someone else's replay. I wonder if I can go back. No, I cannot. I'm kind of curious what the timing was on those second queens, because typically if you're going gasless, you're going to be able to get a spine and 2 queens, and then you won't start to float. Must have been that 36 supply block. I didn't see how long that was lasting for. So I was busy looking at the APM. Alright, so far let's see where we're at economically. 43 drones to 24 SCVs. This is really good. How's the scouting been, on the other hand? We'll see, because whenever you're droning up this hard, you want to make sure you know what you're up against. All right, so you saw the bunker, and you got the expand. That's the important part. So that's good. You saw you had a window. So far, looking like really strong play. I'm wondering if you maybe play a lot of unranked or something to still be in gold, because this is looking good minus the supply blocks. Hit I think one at 56 and one at 36. But other than that, it's looking really strong so far. So I'd say that's the first thing, is just work on that supply block. Just like when I was casting Duke's game the other day, that 36 supply block just cascades to every other stage of the game. So you want to make sure to eliminate that ASAP, even if you just have to practice your opening build 10 times against the AI until you no longer 36 supply block. It's so worth it. Mechanically, though, I mean, beyond that, the queen energy is phenomenally low, so that's great to see. What do we got going down? Roach Horn and an Evo Chamber. I'd like to see this Evo Chamber researching something. You're pulling this huge macro lead, but the spending's just not as tight as it could be. We're dropping a Baneling Nest. Hive, or Lair just finished, so now we'll get to see what's really going to go on. Alright, so we're going for Muta play. That's fine. Now, one thing I would like to see is just an Overseer morphing ASAP. Since you did get a pretty decent time on your Lair, you're going to be able to go ahead and capitalize on that and get some scouting. If it was a little later Lair, I would have liked to have seen an Overlord scout, but instead this is going to be just fine if you just had an Overseer moving in, because you don't want to be committing heavily to Mutas if he's already pumping out a bunch of Widow Mines. But thus far, he looks like he's heavy into Hellions. He's going to be going for probably that, yep, there it is, that Battle Hellion drop. This is absolutely brutal. And these roaches really aren't going to be doing much out here since there's a medevac. I think this was a case where you wanted to apply some pressure. Good idea, but it needed to be occurring 2 to 3 minutes earlier. I'd rather see these roaches at home where they're going to be able to clean up these Battle Hellions. Alright, and this positioning isn't so good. So, one thing I'd like to point out, this is a common mistake that you can make at gold and platinum, is just kind of move your lings and feel like, well, if I don't kill him, then I'm out of luck. That's not really what I want to do here. What you would want to do here is you'd pull your drones out, pull your lings back, let them roast the buildings for a bit, especially since you've got roaches. Wait for those roaches to arrive, whittle down that medevac with your queens, and eventually he's going to be forced to move out. He's not going to kill anything more than maybe an extractor. He won't even get your pool with only 4 Battle Hellions. So there's no need to trade away all those lings for free, especially when you already have roaches on the field. Just got to buy some time and get those drones out. Alright, so immediately, one thing that I'd like to see here is spores and spines going down all over the place. Let's see how this micro looks. Pretty good getting those drones out of the way there. Make sure you're cleaning up that medevac. There we go, Mutas pop, excellent. So, since you are going Mutas, now that I think about it, spores and spines aren't necessarily going to be mandatory. You bought time, so that's good. You got what you needed to out of that. I would say, maybe a couple, maybe a spore and a spine at your main, just so that your mutas don't get pinned at your main the entire time. But now let's look where we're at as far as production, since you're back on the macro track. Lost quite a few drones. Let's see where that's at. 15. So that hurts, but these mutas are getting a good counterattack. But now at this point, you're making nothing but drones and mutas, just like you should be. So this is so far looking really clean. Just took a little too much damage from the drop, but again, that Battle Hellion drop is just really hard to deal with. Alright, so kind of bouncing around on buildings. If you're going to go for a building, make sure you can commit to it. Make sure you're going to be able to actually take it out. That Muta could have been saved, but not worried too much about the higher level micro. Although this needs to be focused. There's really no reason for you to be focusing on the armory right now when that turret could have been denied. Because now he's able to get mining back at his main, and that was a huge deal there. Oh my god, we got double command center going down on the third. So it looks like we're going to be looking at a long game. He's already going for the planetary fortress wall. Really would like to have seen that denial up at the main, but it's too late for that now. Alright, let's look for the magic box. Yes, nice. He's going to get up and unfortunately get to the turret. So actually, this kind of helps drive the point home. Hypothetically speaking, if you had denied those turrets, which definitely was within your power, that armory was much lower priority, that Thor would have also gone down, and all these SCVs would have also gone down, and you would still be cleaning up in his main right now. Now, this build is interesting from our Terran player. We're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 7. I can count. 7 factories on 3 base. Well, that's all well and good. We'll see how his spending looks. So it looks like your mutas are going to be able to get something done here with these tanks and Hellions, so that's good. Focusing down the tanks, also really good to see. These Hellions are not much of a threat right now. You could have probably chased a little further, no big deal though. Now back at home, what are we producing? Got a lot of idle larvae here, so that is one thing. Make sure it's really hard to do. I know it's really kind of taxing, but whenever you're micro and mutas, anytime you pull back, like for a moment here you're pulling back, that's the moment you want to be hitting the drone cycle. There we go, that's good. Just try and make it a little quicker. Now, let's see, what is causing these to be unspent? You have your hatcheries on five. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what's going on here actually? Ninob, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you're selecting your hatcheries individually for spawning. Is that, I mean, if you're listening right now, is that correct? Because I just saw you hit a drone cycle and you made 3, and then you had idle larvae at your main and your natural, and then you made some more from there. If that's the case, which is what it looks like, you weren't supply blocked. Well, just make sure you're spawning off of all your hatcheries at the same time. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not going to benefit you really at all. I would just discontinue that. Oh, to inject? No, for spawning, because there was a spawn there that hit 3 different bases, kind of in a staggered fashion. Just make sure you're spawning by hitting 5 and spawning all your drones at once, and then just rallying them to a common location that they all needed, or splitting them up evenly if you're preferable to that. Because right now is your window to pull way ahead on economy, and you're actually just barely keeping up with mules he's ahead. Now let's see what we've got. 3 Thors and a ton of anti-ground. This is actually looking very good to Magic Box if you just had a few more mutas, but it looks like you're already into the Locust or the Swarmhost transition. That's going to be just fine. These Battle Hellions, once they're morphed, are going to be a little bit of trouble, but thus far, looks like you're going to do really well. I'd like to see these roaches pulling back. You're getting all sorts of free damage. No need to trade away those roaches. But at this point, it looks like you're committed. Now, that focus on the Thors. I could take it or leave it. I guess kind of my thinking is once you have Swarmhost on the field, Thors aren't going to do anything anyways. They're really kind of a very low threat. But thus far, this is looking really good now. Now, you're running low economy. Now it makes sense because you're transitioning into Swarmhost. So that makes a lot of sense now. I thought you were going to stick on mutas. So this is good. Let's see the production tab here. So you're staying on Roach, and we've got our Roach speed. Yes. They look a little slow. Nope, we do not. So yeah, make sure that's one of those mandatory upgrades. It's like Metabolic Boost. By mid-game, you got to have Roach speed. If you're going to just make 3 or 4 and then just stick on them. Oh, look at that. Yep. And it doesn't look like you're control grouping your eggs, so that can happen. They'll get lost there. So, you know, that's... By now, you should probably be wondering, well, where's my army? So just kind of keep an eye on it. You know, it's easy to go into macro mode and not really think about what you're producing, and then just kind of forget about your units. Now, the other thing is, if you're going to go Swarmhost, make sure you commit. You're only making 5 Swarmhosts here, and while these Locusts are doing a lot of damage because he's not going into Siege Tank, if he went into Siege Tank like he should be right now, your Locusts wouldn't be doing really much of anything. So make sure you're following that rule. Minimum of 16 Swarmhosts at any mid-game that you're at, if you're going to make them at all. I've seen some times where people can use 4 to 6 with drops and do really well, but unless you're planning on something goofy like that, I really recommend making sure you bulk up to 16 ASAP. Total you've got, let's see, 10. So you're getting closer. Some of those are just missing. I'm hoping you're going to catch this miss rally here soon. Kind of want to just poke you in-game and tell you to go grab your army so you can kill this guy. Because with those roaches, you'd be cleaning up. Good positioning on these Swarmhosts. That's actually exactly where you want to be, given the stance he's been taking. He's been kind of trying to push forward, trying to poke through the Locust and see if he can get some damage done. And as long as he wants to continue trading like that, there's no reason to move forward. He's actually hoping for you to move forward. Now, he's moving into Vikings. I'm guessing he's predicting the Viper transition. And you do have some Vipers out, so that's a good call on his part. This is the point you're going to need some Hydras to support these Vipers. You do have some mutas, but it's not going to really be enough here. Oh, a bit of a, what was that on? That looks like, yeah, that was on the command center. Try to never focus down a building. unless you're already within range. Then you can just manually grab the locust and switch over. Alright, you found your roaches. Still no roach speed. This is so critical. You would have cleaned up that entire army if you had roach speed there. So that's kind of probably the big mistake of this game, but it looks like you're going to do really well here moving into the late game. Again, focusing on the command center, I really would have liked to have seen you cleaning up the army there. It worked out in this case, but at higher levels it's not going to happen. They're going to lift off and those locusts aren't going to get anything done. Now, what else? Oh, these vipers, you know, miss micro happens, so I'm not even going to worry about that. But in this situation, you really want to be stressing the abduct. Blinding Cloud, it's pretty good, but it's good when they're immobile. So if they've got like 4 tanks packed together there, that's when you really want to use that Blinding Cloud. But abduct is going to be great against Thors. Now, I want to check here. Okay, you do have Locust Life. It felt like they were not lasting too long. I guess I'm just used to having creep up in front of them. So that's another thing. Just make sure you keep some Overlords dropping creep there, so that they're getting into range that much quicker and doing that much more damage. See that? Now that's a really good time to focus on the building, because his army was out of position, so you weren't taking free damage from the army, and he wasn't able to lift off since it wasn't completed. So that was really a good focus fire. This one, you probably already know, whenever you focus fire on a building, make sure just to reset your rally point afterwards, otherwise you lose the spawn. Ultra Transition, I like it a lot. Let's see where the upgrades are. Okay. One more Evo Chamber. There it is. Okay. So you're doing fine here. Probably missed some upgrades there at some point. Given how much economy you've had, just try and keep an eye on that, but that's not really going to be the highest priority at this level. It's not until probably Diamond or so that you really start to feel it if you miss an upgrade. Alright, now again, what you're still seeing here is just that lack of mass on these Swarmhosts, because if you had double this many, you know, you got maybe 2 Battle Hellions there, but if you had twice as many there, you would have cleaned up a quarter of his army for that trade. It's really, really important that you reach that critical mass, especially when you get into the late game. Alright, this is great. Really great flank here. You're getting a ton of good damage here, especially with how far ahead you are economically. Still can't stress enough just how important that roach speed is. This was a good use of Blinding Cloud, actually. In that direct engagement where his Thors are already so close, they went ahead and moved that much further up and gave you that surface area on those roaches. So that's really good. If you're going to use Blinding Cloud versus Thors, it's about as good as it's going to get. I just kind of hypothetically, you know, what if you had been abducting those Thors with every Swarmhost, with every Locust spawn, and he didn't even have them to begin with? So that's kind of the thing that I really try to stress with versus mech, is just keeping the abduct going, then going back and consuming, and just making sure your Vipers are always active. But still, super good engagement. Love the flank. Now's the time you can go ahead and move these Swarmhosts forward. I'd like to see him up about here. You've got some roaches to cover for him. You know he doesn't have too much army left. Now he's even pulling SCVs to try and stay in the game. So this is when these Swarmhosts definitely need to be mobile. They need to be up right around the Xel'Naga Tower. Up here, this Overlord definitely should have been dropping creep. It's kind of just one of those things that takes just a couple clicks. Very low APM investment, and it pays off so well. Overlord Medevac moving out. I'm not sure what this was. He must have... I have no idea. I didn't see a drop go up there. Maybe there was. I don't know. I was busy watching the main engagement. But apparently he felt some mules were necessary at your 4th, so that's good. Alright, so we got the slow roaches. Let's check those Hydra upgrades, make sure they're upgraded. Okay, missing Groove Spine. So you're missing 2 of those really important upgrades. So just keep an eye on that. I'd say that's the big one. Biggest improvement you can make here is watch those necessary upgrades. Hydra, both speed and Groove Spines are mandatory. Roaches, obviously the roach speed is mandatory. You would have had a lot of really strong engagements here if you had roach speed. The second biggest recommendation I can make is, you know, again, make sure you hit that critical mass on your Swarmhost. Alright. So we've got the Swarmhost now moving forward, taking out the 3rd. This is really good. And he's going to have to go ahead and pull back to deal with this, because he's about to lose any remaining economy he has other than this 4th, which isn't going to last him too terribly long. Alright, idle medevacs. We won't worry about that too terribly much. Just cleaning up this 3rd. This is good. That's one good time when it's really great to focus on the building. Otherwise, these locusts are going to be running around the edges, picking up some SCVs, but they'll spend a lot of their time just trying to get around the command center, so that's good. Alright, so this is maybe a situation where you already had the game won, but hypothetically speaking, if he was still in this game, this is maybe a situation where you'd have wanted to pull back. You got that siege mode up in time, that you're taking a ton of damage. But really, you can afford to trade all day long now, so I'm not too terribly worried about that. That's actually a good decision in this situation. So now these Swarmhosts again, try and shuffle them up a little further. I like that you're being so careful with them, but in a situation like this where you're trading and you're staying in the fight consistently, you can afford to go ahead and pull them up a little bit and just micro them back if the fight starts going poorly. Because right now these locusts are getting maybe 3 shots off before their timed life expires, so they're not really being cost effective compared to what they could be. A couple idle swarm hosts back here. Looks like they are not in the control group, so they just were kind of forgotten about. They're defensive. That's pretty good, but I don't think it's necessarily the best way to defend for supply. I think spores and spines are going to be the way to go. Oh, about to lose your swarm hosts. Okay, so in that situation, it looks like there was a bit of a panic there. When you were burrowed, that's the point you want to go ahead and just say, okay, you know what? I'm going to lose these swarm hosts, but I might as well go ahead and do some damage while I'm at it. He was so close to your swarm host there that he would have lost a lot of those Hellions, especially because they weren't in battle. And Hellbat, whatever you want to call them. Hellbat sounds dumb. I'm going to keep calling them Battle Hellions. Alright, so actually really strong game. But again, the two big improvements you can make is watch those necessary research, the groove spines and the glio reconstitution, and make sure you're hitting that critical mass on your swarm host. But other than that, I mean, really strong game. I love the transition from mutas into swarm host. That was really good. You did the necessary amount of damage. You got some map control established, and then you played out the long game really well with the swarm host. So, really good game. Looking forward to seeing more later. I have no doubt you're going to be a lot higher than gold in no time if your other matchups are this strong. Alright, so those watching on YouTube, thanks a bunch for watching.